What's up, everybody? Neil McDevitt here, and I am officially back. So, in this video, I want to talk about where have I been, what have I been doing, what have I been focusing on, and most importantly, what am I going all in on? Because I think this opportunity is going to be the biggest opportunity I've seen so far, and it's also something that is right underneath everybody's noses, but nobody's seeing it and nobody's talking about it. So, I'm somebody who likes to share information. So I'm going to shed some light on these insights. So, many of you have been curious why I shut down enhanced advertising. I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but in short, I began the business, or I started it, knowing it was a means to an end. It was simply there to build skills, build beliefs, and also just teach me a lot of valuable business lessons. By no means was this the business that was the end goal for me. This was just simply there to make me a better entrepreneur, because I knew I just needed to do something so I could practice entrepreneurship. And that's what this business really was. And as I was building it, I started to realize that there was a lot of flaws with the business model. And these are flaws that 99% of agency and coaching businesses see. These business models are good because they're profitable, but they also have a lot of constraints. And the biggest one, especially in the way that these businesses are being built today, because this is the way that many people are teaching how to build them, is oftentimes you as the founder are the single point of failure to the business. Especially since the majority of these businesses, like 90% of these businesses, are built around a personal brand. You as the founder are the single point of failure. And if you decide that you want to stop creating content or enjoy the fruits of your labor, or whatever your goal is, if you decide at any time you're going to slow down creating content, or you just get burnt out, you're going to see massive dips in revenue. They call this the high ticket roller coaster. This happens in agency businesses. This happens in coaching businesses. Even Andrew Wilkinson, who is the chairman of ElevenLabs, sees this happen in his multi-8-figure agency, right? So this is something that everybody experiences to some extent, which is the biggest flaw with this model, especially whenever you build it the way that everybody is teaching today, where you're actually the main source of the lead flow. You're the main source of the oxygen of the business, because the business is reliant on your personal brand, which a personal brand is very powerful at getting traffic to the business. But it does also give it a lot of limitations, because at this point, you're not really building an asset. You're building a high-paying job, which for many people, the reason they build it this way is because that's what they're happy with, which that's awesome. Keep doing it. But for me, that wasn't the case. For me, I wanted to build an asset that I could leverage myself out of, replace myself with a CEO, and then eventually, if I decided to, have a chance to sell the company, which is why this business model was not the long-term business model I wanted to pursue. This was basically a means to an end, and it wasn't really aligned with my goals. Therefore, any more attention I spent on it would be wasted attention. Therefore, I pivoted. So, after I shut down enhanced advertising, I was led to finding the next great opportunity vehicle, which after I shut down the company, I had, for the first time in a long time, an abundance of time and extreme mental clarity. So I had the chance to take a big step back, look at the industry as a whole, apply good mental models and frameworks to the industry, and I looked at a lot of different sectors. I looked at mergers and acquisitions. I looked at waste management companies. I looked at data as a service companies, home improvement companies, you name it. I've probably looked into it to a certain extent. Really mainly because I wanted to have a good model whenever viewing opportunity vehicles. So I wanted to see all of the vehicles that I could imagine or think of that I might actually enjoy doing, and see what the best opportunity vehicle is. And the constraints of my search were limited to, I wanted to have a model with real enterprise value, preferably with some type of recurring revenue, great gross margins, so not net profit margins, but gross profit margins. I wanted those to be phenomenal. And then also, I wanted the business to have what Warren Buffett would refer to as a moat. This being the most important one, especially with the rapid advancements of AI. Really, my entire goal whenever searching for the next opportunity, I was asking myself, how can I stay out of the way of AI so I'm not getting steamrolled? So I'm not, basically, AI wouldn't be changing the entire business that I was trying to build, or just making that business go extinct while I was building it, because that would be the worst case scenario. And after going through about 50 different ideas, starting some businesses, then seeing the bottlenecks and pivoting, and iterating very fastly, I came to the conclusion that maybe I shouldn't be trying to avoid AI, but maybe I should be going into AI and learning AI so that I can actually use it, which is a pretty obvious answer now that I think about it, but at the time, I was just trying to avoid it. So, this led me going into a pretty deep rabbit hole. This was where I taught myself how to code, pretty much stayed up like 18 hours a day, just teaching myself rigorously how to code, even when I should have been sleeping. And I studied different things like neural networks, deep learning, natural language processing, scaling laws, retrieval augmented generation, prompt engineering. I was using LangChain and vector embeddings, and I was also using some agentic frameworks so I could create little AI research bots. They were being managed by an AI manager, and they would go do research on my behalf, bring back the information, and the AI manager would kind of like organize it for me. Which is something that the AI is already capable of, which is kind of surprising, or it was surprising to me whenever I learned that and whenever I started to do these things. So after really diving into this industry, I obviously decided or started to learn a lot of things, and I think this is the best decision I have made this far. So if you name something in AI, I've probably read an entire research paper on it or multiple research papers on it, just because I was so obsessed with just learning about this industry, because I'm now seeing, and I have before, but even furthermore, I'm seeing just how transformative this is going to be for society. But then I came to another realization, because what I was doing before is I was, like you saw in this picture, this is me coding an artificial intelligence app. But I realized that that was also a bad idea, because all of these AI apps, people are starting to realize this now, they go up fast, but then they also go down fast, because all OpenAI has to do is have an update, and they include all of the frameworks that AI app just built in the actual update of OpenAI. And OpenAI is basically the Amazon of artificial intelligence. So anybody who tries to build alongside of it or competes with OpenAI basically gets screwed in the long run. So at this point, I thought, well, maybe consulting firms or an agency would be the best route for artificial intelligence, because instead of me building an app and trying to avoid OpenAI imminently crushing me, instead what I could do is adapt with AI and just teach people the things that are coming and changing. So I thought about this for a while, and I immersed myself even deeper in the industry, and for the first time I realized how much more powerful this technology is than I actually initially anticipated. And even furthermore, how fast it is growing and improving. This stuff is the fastest growing technology humanity has ever seen. So I thought to myself, if this continues to improve at this rate, what does this mean for business? What does this mean for the economy? And what does this mean for society as a whole? Because this stuff is actually growing insanely fast. And will AI consulting firms even be a viable model at all? Or will that be obsolete very soon too? So these are all things that I was thinking about and I wanted to do more research on. So as I continued to do more research to see if I was right, I started to read more books on artificial intelligence. I began to research specific AI researchers and CEOs and founders who are shaping the AI industry. And what I found is rather insightful and shocking, to say the least. So first, I started to study Ray Kurzweil, who is a computer scientist, who has been involved with AI longer than any other human. He's been involved with AI for over 60 years. So he's the author of 3 books, well, actually quite a few more than this, but here's 3 that I listed. One is the age of intelligent machines, the age of spiritual machines, and how to create a mind. So Ray in 1999 in the age of spiritual machines predicted that the current state of AI that we're currently experiencing would be happening today. So in 1999, he predicted this stuff would be happening. And even furthermore, he predicted that by 2029, AI will be as smart as any single human in any single subject domain. Basically meaning we have artificial general intelligence that is as smart as the smartest humans in any subject. And it does that over all subjects, which is pretty interesting to say the least. And then I started to research Sam Altman a little bit more. And on Lex Friedman's podcast, Sam Altman said GPT-5, which is coming out this year in 2024, will be as smart as very smart humans. And the model improvement will be that as the same as the improvement from GPT-3 to GPT-4. And he also mentioned that it will have agentic frameworks, meaning that these AI can act like agents and take actions on behalf of you. So in the top right here, I've included a model or a diagram showing the difference between GPT-3 and GPT-4. So now just think about how good GPT-4 already kind of is. It's not like amazing yet. One could argue that it's as smart as a very smart cat. But GPT-4 to GPT-5 is going to be on the same scale. And Sam Altman said it's going to be as smart as very smart humans, which is very interesting to say the least. Next, Elon Musk on Peter Diamandis' podcast. Elon said that he expects AI to reach the intelligence of the smartest humans in any subject by 2025 or next year. And he predicts them to be as smart as all humans combined by 2029. Okay, Elon Musk is definitely somebody who is oftentimes off with his time frames, but the fact that he's even saying that is kind of crazy. And then the fourth and final one, Scott Aronson, is a quantum physicist, and he's been working in quantum computing for quite some time now. But he also works with OpenAI on AI safety. And he's placed a bet amongst his colleagues that he predicts AI to win Olympic gold medals in math by 2027, which is insane to think about. Because Olympic gold medals in math, that's like the smartest mathematicians on earth. So overall, there seems to be almost a consensus from the people who are building this technology that in the next 1 to 5 years, we will have AI that is smarter than any single human across every single subject. So artificial general intelligence. But even if it takes a few years longer than all of these people are predicting to reach that point, think of the effects just something like ChatGPT-5 will have on the world. Being as smart humans, like Sam Altman says, right? Just being as smart humans, if not, that's really, if we think about that, what is that? That is as smart as the majority of employees, if not smarter than the majority of employees. And it's also just as smart as the majority of CEOs, if not smarter than the majority of CEOs and the majority of founders. So this is something that is becoming very transformative very quickly. So I wanted to reference these two graphs. So the top right is the scaling laws of compute versus the dollar per compute. And then the bottom one is AI versus human capabilities. So the top one is what Ray Kurzweil often refers to whenever he's speaking on AI and his predictions of it. So I want you to notice very closely how this graph never slows down even during a world war or any type of catastrophic event for that matter, whether it's COVID, world wars, anything that happens, this graph continually, steadily increases in an exponential curve, which you can see at the top right there, it's starting to become more vertical than horizontal. And yeah, it's starting to be pretty interesting because humans, we have a very hard time conceptualizing exponentials. But I want you to think about it like this. If you were to walk 30 paces to the left linearly, you'll probably go an extra 60 feet, 30 to 60 feet, depending on how big your strides are. But if you're to walk 30 paces exponentially, that would put you into like outer space. You would be off of this planet because of the way exponentials work. And this is a technology that is exponentially increasing. So again, below is the state of AI compared to human intelligence, and this is a research paper put together by Stanford University. If you want, you can screenshot this and zoom in, but right there you can see in the dotted line, that being the human baseline. And AI is, in a lot of cases, better than humans, but in things like math and reasoning, it's still below humans, but one could argue that it's going to be above humans in the next year or two. So, unrelated to these graphs, looking at history, the second industrial revolution began around the 1870s. And the third industrial revolution began around the 1950s. So there's roughly an 80-year gap between the second and third industrial revolution. Well, it has been about 75 years since we've had an industrial revolution. And we're starting to see evidence of it beginning right now. So throughout history, revolutions like this have been the most volatile times in history. Industries go extinct, companies fail, and the companies within specific industries go extinct, and companies that don't adapt or don't take on a new form imminently die. And this is something that causes new business models to emerge altogether. So Ray Dalio covers this in The Changing World Order, and Neil Howells covers this in The Fourth Turning. This is something that is becoming very imminent, especially if we look at the patterns of the universe or the patterns of the history of our world. This is something that is very imminent and is happening. So what is the conclusion? I want to apply this to a business owner's or an entrepreneur's perspective, or more accurately, an online service-based business owner's perspective, since that's who pretty much the majority of my audience is made up of. So agency owners, coaches and consultants, course sellers, what could this possibly mean for us, right? So I want to be very clear. I've done a lot of research and I've gathered a lot of evidence on this topic, but I still want to mention this is simply just me sharing the evidence that I've found and sharing the actions that I am taking based off of this evidence and the opportunities that I'm going to be pursuing based off of this evidence. By no means am I saying that I'm an all-knowing person, but given the evidence laid before you and given the evidence I'm about to lay before you, all of the insights that I'm about to share seem very obvious, at least to me. But again, these aren't something that have already happened. Who knows? Maybe humans go extinct before this happens. I guess anything is a possibility. But these things, given the evidence and giving the data, these things are very, very happening, and I think are more than likely to happen. So, the changing market dynamics. So agencies. What happens to marketing agencies whenever we have artificial intelligence that continues to grow like this? Well, marketing agencies, development agencies, design agencies, media agencies, etc. The tasks that agencies complete will not go away. I want that to be abundantly clear. But the way in which these tasks are completed will look completely different. Instead of companies outsourcing work or skills to agencies, they will find the best AI-powered software application and communicate what they want to the AI agent. This will be much cheaper, much more efficient, much more effective than humans in an agency. Meaning LLM or large language model or artificial intelligence powered software applications is replacing agencies. So imagine you have a marketing agency that's full of a bunch of people. This is how agencies are currently, this is how they consist of a bunch of people. But what happens whenever we have an artificial intelligence just on a website or on a platform where you pay X amount of dollars per month or X amount of dollars per project, and you communicate with the AI, explain what you want, and it feeds it back to you. And if you want any changes, you just highlight it and say, can you make this? And it does that immediately without having to deal with any people, without people sleeping, without the expense of the costs of people. This is something that is already happening. If we look at Google and Meta, they're already more and more of the AI algorithm of these platforms is taking over more and more of the jobs of media buyers. Back in the day, whenever these platforms first came out and machine learning technology wasn't this good, you had to click a lot more buttons within the advertising platform. Now you just click a few buttons and anybody can run ads because the algorithm does most of the work. Or, for example, if we look at Cognition Labs product, Devin, which is the first AI software engineer. One could argue that this thing isn't amazing yet, but after the GPT-4 update, the GPT-4 Turbo, it is now already coding more than 60% of itself, meaning it is building the majority of itself. I want you to really think about that. By GPT-5, this thing's probably going to be building itself altogether, meaning software engineers are going to be not really needed because building an AI software engineer platform is probably a little more advanced than the majority of software engineering products, but the fact that it can already build itself is pretty impressive, right? Or if we look at marketing agencies or media agencies, we can look at the Adobe AI or the OpenAI's Sora that'll be coming out after the elections. All of these things are replacing these agencies. All of these things are very imminently coming. And instead of communicating with somebody or a human, you can communicate with these platforms, right? So some people are going to argue that they can never become replaced by AI because their work is so different from client to client. It differs vastly and it's very specific. You almost need you need extreme detail and you need a very extreme understanding and intuition of each problem. A lot of people are going to argue this. But for the people who claim this, I'm going to refer to a conversation between an AI researcher and a surgeon who claims AI can never replace her because the work differs vastly from patient to patient, and it requires extreme detail, understanding, and intuition of every single different problem that each surgery might have, right? To which the AI researcher asked her, "How did you learn these skills?" To which she replies, "I've spent the majority of my life studying this, and I've done this exact surgery over 1,000 times. And then the AI researcher responds, "Yes. And this AI is trained on all human known information on this topic and has done the surgery 10 million times." The key here is the vast amounts of data that we have. The AI, or the only thing that keeps these large language models from putting you out of business today, is compute. But based off of the information we've covered in the previous slide, by this time next year, compute power isn't a question. Based on this top right picture, compute power by next year is not a question. So, what about coaches and consultants? So for a long time, I thought high-ticket coaches and consultants had a much better moat than agencies, and in many ways they do, especially when compared to AI, because a lot of the value in coaching comes from being around other like-minded people and being in a very encouraging environment. That's a lot of the value that you get out of a coaching program is the community, right? Which this part of the business absolutely does have a moat. That is, you can't argue against that. But coaching encapsulates much more than just a community. They also include courses and consulting and actual coaching from somebody who has more experience than you. And whenever you do this, you can have greater perceived value from the community and the coaching business. So while learning from somebody else's wisdom is definitely valuable, as these large language models become better, wisdom becomes something that everyone has instant free access to, where we can give the intelligent entity context on what our personal problem is and ask it how it would solve the problem, and given our context and given our circumstances. And it will reply with consulting of world-class advice from the leading experts on earth in whatever subject you're asking about. On top of that, these models are now being trained with sentiment analysis that can detect your emotions better than the majority of humans, just off of the vast amounts of data that we have. And based off of the large amounts of data, it can encourage, motivate, and empathize with you better than humans, just based off of, again, machine learning, understanding how to do it, and improving naturally. These are things that are already happening. It's already becoming more empathetic. It's already becoming encouraging and motivating, just like why you would join a coaching program or why you would pay a mentor or why you would pay a coach. These things are being automated. These things are already better at empathizing than humans, not always, but a lot of the times. And on the right here, I have included a research paper from the Natural Library of Medicine, which is a government website, and it covers how these large language models are being more effective than humans a lot of the times in therapy sessions, like mental therapy, right? Where this is basically something that is very closely related to what coaching would be. These models are outperforming humans off of a certain amount of benchmarks and metrics. So, health, wealth, relationships, these are the three categories where we find the majority of high-ticket coaching businesses, and AI is already proficient at giving advice on these topics. It might not be the best right now. By GPT-5, it probably will be it'll be better than probably a lot of the better coaches out there. But even GPT-4, one could argue that just GPT-4 or Claude 3 Opus is actually better than a lot of the fake gurus online today, or the online coaches today, right? So the only reason people can charge high ticket prices for coaching or for consulting is because of the perceived value of the product that they're building or the advice that they have. But after people start to adopt AI more and realize how powerful it is, the perceived value of coaches becomes an abundant commodity. The reason these coaching programs seem so scarce is because that wisdom is scarce. But whenever we have intelligent entities in our back pocket that are almost as smart as Elon Musk, that wisdom is no longer scarce. You can have that immediately for free. What I want you to realize is that this AI, it distills information, because if we go to the internet, one could argue that we have instant access to infinite information online and instant wisdom online, sure, but it's very chaotic. It's not organized, and it's going to take you a very long time to distill that information down and to the best information. This is what these models do. You ask it a simple question, it distills it into the best possible answer and feeds it back to you, right? So, as these models improve, it only makes coaches become more and more useless, which is likely to lead to an extinction of not coaches or the coaching model, but high-ticket coaching businesses as we know them today. So then what do we do? Like we mentioned on the previous slide, the part of coaching that actually has a moat and will survive this is the community aspect. Besides creating SaaS products, e-commerce brands, or data-as-a-service businesses, communities will be one of the only standing online service-based businesses, where people are actually providing services. Communities will be one of the last standing businesses, if not the last standing online service business, after AI starts to revolutionize the way business is done. So using AI in your community, you can automate just about the entire business, from content creation to lead nurturing to sales and fulfillment. It can be completely automated with AI, and this is something we can already do today, which births the autonomous community business. With generative AI, content, and AI consultants in the community, and also have some human consultants as well, because we're going to want human consultants in a community business to a certain extent, not really having them as consultants, but more so as community leaders, just because people are going to want to be around more people, especially as the ratio of robots or the ratio of AI to humans skews more towards AI and robots. I am willing to bet that people are going to value communities much more, and they're going to want to be around people much more, which is going to be why it's important to have community leaders that you pay to be leading and guiding the community, and not always just AI, right? So this will have really good health and culture for your community and everything like that. But the best part is, with the community businesses, not only are they very automatable, but you also have monthly recurring revenue. So the high ticket roller coaster that we discussed earlier isn't really a thing. Let's say I decide I want to stop posting content for weeks to a month. As long as the community is valuable, I'm going to have revenue because people aren't just going to leave. A lot of these communities have very high retention rates. The churn rate is pretty low, especially if you have a very good product, which means you're no longer just somebody who's focused on driving traffic and posting content all the time. You're now just more so focused on how can I pull the levers that make my community valuable, and I don't actually have to be the person that's always operating the company. That's what monthly recurring revenue really gives you. It gives you a sense of autonomy, and also just stability in general. And another great part to a business like this is it actually has enterprise value. And it is an asset that can be sold, especially as you get more members in the community and you start to build infrastructure that brings in members automatically to the community. And the community starts to grow on its own just based off of the value of the product itself and the word of mouth of the product itself. It is something that is very exitable for very good valuations based off of the monthly recurring revenue and the stability of it. Something like a agency or a coaching company, the valuation of these companies is very shit. This is something that we saw with Alex Hormozi's gym launch. While yes, he did exit the company for a good amount, compared to the revenue of the business, it really wasn't the best exit. And this isn't any deflationary or reduction. I'm not trying to take anything away from Alex Hormozi. Obviously, he's amazing. But this is just a fact. But with something that has monthly recurring revenue or annual recurring revenue, the valuations of these companies are much, much better. And again, it is very automatable with minimal overhead. That's also a very good plus. So, not only is this a great business model, and not only is this something that is going to be something that can actually survive the AI revolution, but if you're somebody who believes these models or this artificial intelligence is going to continue to improve, which all of the data and all of the evidence says they are, there is a larger problem that is arising. I call this post-labor economics. And this isn't actually a term that I coined. I got this from somebody named David Shapiro. So post-labor economics is a phenomenon where AI surpasses humans at all tasks that directly correlate to the growth of the economy. Meaning that humans are basically obsolete at anything that directly grows the economy. This doesn't mean that all jobs will go away, but the majority will. And there will be some jobs where humans just prefer to act with other humans or interact with other humans whenever doing business. But those will be very sparse and very far and few between. So what happens whenever we reach this post-labor economy and when unemployment rises, we are forced into an entirely different economic paradigm. Neoliberalism and capitalism as we know it take on a completely different form. One could say they just go away altogether. This gives rise to the meaning economy. In a world where humans culturally attach their value to work, there is going to be existential crisis for meaning as unemployment rises. This will be the largest problem worldwide, especially in America. This will definitely be the largest problem in America, where we are very much so a neoliberalistic country, where people find all of their value culturally in the work that they're doing, in their job. And culturally, we have designed our country to be this way, right? So whenever everybody's source of meaning is taken away, what do people do? They're going to have not only an existential crisis, and they're going to have a lot of confusion and problems, but people are also going to have abundance of time to spend on things like hobbies, entertainment, and other forms of personal work, or maybe they want to start small businesses. This is where community founders can step in and give everybody a place to call home, a place where they can meet the people who are like-minded to them and have similar interests to them, a place where they can finally find meaning again, a place where in the post-labor economy where meaning can be found. And this could potentially be a global problem. It's definitely a problem in the United States, or that's going to be happening in the United States. And what this really means is the total adjustable market for community founders will be billions of people that you can impact. Hundreds of millions for sure, and potentially billions of people worldwide will have some type of existential crisis along the lines of what meaning do they actually have anymore. And if you can provide a community for them where they have some type of value to the community, they can relate with other people. They're in a very similar situation. They're all like-minded and they have similar interests as the community and the people within it. This is some place where they can start to have meaning again. And they can even contribute to the community, making it an extremely valuable product. So just wrapping everything up, if you found these insights valuable and you're interested in hearing more about this topic and how I plan on navigating this industrial revolution and how I'm building my community business, just go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to be doing weekly videos on how I'm navigating the fourth industrial revolution, and I'm going to be documenting the entire journey. If you thought this video was valuable in any way, shape, or form, the most important thing you can do is share this video and bring awareness to these changes and to this topic. Share it with friends, share it with family, colleagues, anyone you think can benefit from this video. Just go ahead and share it to them, because this is something that is actually coming pretty quickly. And the more people who have these insights, the more people can build a more valuable future for themselves and have a better meaning in the future for themselves. And finally, if this presentation inspired you to build a community business and you want to automate it completely with AI, building an autonomous community business, I've just opened a new school community linked in the description below. It is free for now, but when I reach a certain number of members that is currently undetermined, I'm going to be adding a paywall. So join now while it's free, just because it's never going to be free again. And let's build some awesome communities.